7:25, good morning to you. Still to come at 8:10 as actors and writers in Hollywood continue to strike. We'll find out how the walkouts are hitting the industry here in Britain.
And at 8:20, we'll ask if it should be harder to gain British citizenship as tough new rules come into force to stop serious criminals getting it.
Get in touch if you want. gbviews@gbnews.com. It's interesting on the whole. We're going to have a discussion about it now, but this whole 2030 petrol ban is getting petrol and diesel ban is getting you going on Twitter.
Yeah,
has to be said. So let's see what our guests make of that this morning, because the government is facing pressure to do more to support motorists. Now, Rishi Sunak has announced a review into what they call low traffic neighbourhoods, if you're subject to one of those.
Conservative MPs and peers are publishing a letter today urging the PM to delay the ban on petrol and diesel cars from 2030 to 2035.
Yes, so should he accept their demands? Former chair of Climate Action Lewisham, Zaria Greenhill, says yes, claiming communities are better off with fewer cars on our roads.
Meanwhile, care support worker and anti-ULEZ campaigner Michelle Chisholm thinks anti-car policies are an attack on the elderly. Well, good morning to you both. Really good to see you today. And Zaria, let's start with you then. You think we should ban petrol cars by 2030?
Yes, I definitely do. I think it's a very good policy. It's not the cars itself, it's the petrol, but it's also the cars itself. Now, understandably, those who need cars for work, such as those who care for the elderly and other care workers, should have electrified cars, and they should definitely be supported by the government in order to achieve that. Obviously, they are expensive and difficult. 7 years is not a long time, is it? But it's also not a short time. And actually, if you talk about care for the elderly, but if you think about car culture and our dependency on car culture, the net losers actually are children who don't have the right to drive, don't make decisions, and have the young and vulnerable lungs that are very much badly affected by air quality problems. I think overall, in terms of those who use cars professionally, this is one thing, but the rest of us actually could benefit from using our cars less, and being more active would make maybe our old age a little bit healthier if we were to all move more, because many of us have sedentary jobs. If you're sedentary in the car as well, it is not good for your health long term, one bit. And the health impacts of car dependency are another aspect of the culture that supports cars over any other form of transport, to be honest. Now, in my view, the government would do well to support public transport as well, and care workers, if it were better, could probably use public transport quite well if they had the opportunity and it were affordable.
Michelle Chisholm, I mean, there are some arguments there that it's difficult to really sort of fight against too much, isn't it? The idea that, you know, if we have to use cars, electric cars are a good way forward. Why can't people adapt to that, do you think, within the next 7 to 8 years?
OK, let's put this into perspective. A care support worker, speaking as a care support worker, they are earning an average salary of between £10 and £12 an hour, a little bit more at the weekend. Now, the issue here is electric cars are extremely expensive. Care support workers are extremely underpaid. Now, the problem that they have is that they are not in a position to be able to rush out and buy an electric car. Don't get me wrong, I think a lot of them would love to have one, but the government up until recently have been really uninterested. And Sadiq Khan, our Mayor of London, has basically recently increased the scrappage scheme. But the issue here is we're looking at a £2,000 scrappage scheme, but for vehicles that are costing in excess of £5,000-6,000. It's just not doable for them. My other issue here is we talk about possibly using public transport for care support workers. May I tell you that I work an average of 60 hours a week. During lockdown, that went up to probably 80 hours a week. Now, we go from client to client to client, back to back, back to back. We are not paid travelling times in between the jobs. We are literally paid on arrival and on departure. My eldest client is 97 years old. I take her shopping. Am I supposed to leave her indoors whilst I go and do her shopping, or am I supposed to take her into the community where she can access and choose and do her own shopping, or should she remain a prisoner at home?
Oh, well, go on, Zaria, because that's a tough one.
That is indeed a tough one, and I have every sympathy. I really do. Care supporters, care workers and elderly people are not the only players in this game, and I definitely support, the government should definitely support care workers to have electrified cars within the time frame. Goodness me. And they should also pay you all better, I think, while we're at it, because you're doing a very important job, and I can quite understand the pressures. But there are many, many younger, healthier people who overuse cars and, frankly, clog up the roads for those people who have urgent need to be places, such as care workers, people who actually could use bicycles, could use their feet for shorter distances, and then creating congestion. And the congestion is the very thing that is the problem of low traffic neighbourhoods and the ULEZ, actually. It's the overuse of cars, really.
OK, Michelle.
Would you mind if I interrupted for just 1 second? OK, so I'm a member of a Facebook group called Action Against ULEZ. Now, I had never even used Facebook up until recently, and I've been very, very, very involved in reading members' stories. Now, we talk about the younger people. Now, lots of members are writing in saying, my son, daughter has a job, they're working in a pub, they're on £8 an hour. To get to work will cost them £12.50 to get there and £12.50 to get home, because they're coming home after midnight or very late in the evening. Now, what do you say to those parents that have got children or young adults, 18 years old, coming home on public transport when it's not available, gone midnight? What would you suggest? They walk? The streets of London are not safe under our current mayor, and people are being put in very vulnerable, dangerous positions. Now, the parents can go and collect them, that's one option, or alternatively, they use a car. I have 2 children, and 100% all the way would expect them to drive a vehicle home at that time of night rather than risk walking the streets.
Zaria, what do you say to that?
I say that obviously people need to be safe on the streets. I don't think car use at night is particularly an issue, is it? That's not when the majority of car use happens, and it's not when air pollution is at its worst.
But they are being charged £12.50, £12.50 under the new Mayor of London to drive their cars. They can't afford electric cars. They've just left school, university. The parents are funding their vehicles. They are not in. So do we want to put these young adults into debt? Already they have uni fees. Do we want to put them into debt in order to be safe to get home?
I think the issue overall, isn't it, is that trying to battle air pollution and environment, it costs money. It costs money. Who is supposed to pay that money? We don't want to put it on young people or people on low incomes. I don't think that's a good idea. This country has an awful lot of millionaires and very high income people. Why does money not come from these richer sources of income in order to support this stuff? Because I don't think our problem really is air quality. It's how to support the people who are impacted, and it's how to support the transition to lower carbon economies and lower carbon transport. So, of course,
all right, Zaria, let Michelle get a word in.
I apologise.
Let's talk about air pollution. Let's talk about air pollution. So, if we look at the IQ Air figures, 1 being the worst, and 131 countries, the UK is currently sitting at number 101. 1 being the worst, 131 being the best. This is IQ Air statistics. We are 101. There are 101 countries that are far worse than the UK. If we look at London, we are number 89 out of 116. We are a minuscule dot on this planet. Now, what we have to look at is the financial burden and the implications of introducing this too quickly. Now, we're saying that the problem isn't the cars. Initially, you said the problem isn't the cars. You were saying the problem is the petrol. Now, let's go one step further. We're going on and on and on about air pollution. I check it every single day. I read the IQ Air figures. I speak to Imperial College. I've had direct conversations with Professor Kelly. I've had direct conversations with Ian Mudway, all of which are telling me that these figures that are being used by the Mayor of London are based on areas like London, not London. And I'm really sorry, we do not have a toxic air problem in the UK, and this is pure and utter scaremongering.
All right, quick. All right, Michelle, let Zaria have a quick response to that.
I don't think Ian Mudway would say that. Now, Ian Mudway was the person who told me that children who grow up in London have 10% less lung capacity than normal. Now, this is severe damage. I mean, London definitely has an air pollution problem. Do you know about the story of Ella Kissy Deborah, who actually died of asthma in Lewisham?
Right.
You know their story. I mean, this was the wake up for so many people. I mean, there's definitely an air pollution problem in London. There really is.
All right, ladies, look, you both make very passionate arguments, but sadly we are out of time. But you've both made your points.
One point.
Just very quickly.
There has been one death as a result of air pollution. One is too many, but there has been one. And I can tell you now that the National Office of Statistics states that cannot be confirmed as car emissions. There is one death.
All right, I know you're going to disagree with that, Zaria, but we have got to leave it there. But it's been good to talk to both of you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, passionate debate.
Yeah. That's what it's all about on this channel. You will have a view on that at home. Do let us know what side of that debate you sit on. Perhaps you've changed your mind listening to those two ladies there. Do let us know what you think at home. gbviews@gbnews.com.
Just one observation I will make. Those two women disagree with each other. They did it politely.
Very politely.
That's what it's all about. Anyway, still to come, we're going to be discussing why many Brits are being turned off seaside trips. What?
Not you.
No, definitely not. This is GB News.